Your 20s will either introduce you to yourself or make you lose yourself in others. There's no middle ground. You can earn your own money, you can build your own career, you can look independent to the world and still be dependent on that one person's behavior. Still waiting for their reply, still needing their validation, still losing yourself silently, and nobody talks about it. Being a girl, I have always valued independence. Not just financial independence, not just the ability to make my own decisions, but independence as a feeling of belonging to myself. But over time, I started questioning that if independence is so much natural to us, why do so many women spend years of their lives feeling emotionally dependent on someone else? Why does their mood depend on how someone talks to them, how someone treats them, or whether someone chooses them or not? The truth is, women are not born emotionally dependent. They are conditioned into it. They are raised to nurture others, to prioritize relationships, to adjust, to understand, and to stay, even when it starts suffocating, even when it starts costing their own life. And slowly, without even realizing it, they start losing their own emotion center. Today, on Women's Day, I want to talk about a form of independence that is rarely discussed but is deeply necessary: emotional independence. Emotional independence does not mean that you stop loving people. It does not mean that you stop caring or you become cold or distant. It simply means that your emotional stability does not depend on someone else's behavior. It means you don't measure your worth by how someone treats you. It means you're able to experience emotions fully, but you're also strong enough to fix yourself without needing someone else. An emotionally independent woman still feels everything. She still loves, she still cares, she still gets hurt, but she does not lose herself in that process. She does not abandon herself just to keep someone else. Women are naturally emotional beings, and that is not their weakness. In fact, that is their biggest strength. Their ability to feel deeply, to empathize, and to connect with others is what makes them powerful. But in today's world, this emotional depth is often misunderstood. Sometimes people take advantage of their empathy. Sometimes their kindness is taken for granted, and sometimes they end up investing their emotions in places where they are not valued. And when it happens repeatedly, it starts affecting their focus, their confidence, their sense of self worth. They start questioning themselves, they start doubting their worth, and without realizing it, they begin to drift away with their own goals and their own identity. Your 20s is a very defining phase of your life. This is the time when you are building yourself, when you are building your career, you are understanding yourself, you are creating your future. And if during this time your emotional energy is constantly being consumed by the wrong people or the wrong attachments, it can quietly delay your growth. Emotional independence is not something that happens overnight. It's a gradual process of becoming more aware of yourself. It begins when you start spending time with yourself, not as an escape, but as a connection. When you learn to sit with your own thoughts, to understand yourself, to understand your emotions, and learn to comfort yourself instead of immediately seeking comfort outside. It begins when you start building a life which is not centered around people but is centered around your purpose. It also requires setting boundaries, understanding that not everyone deserves access to your emotional space, understanding that your dignity and your self respect are always more important than anything else in this world. Your self respect and your dignity should always be your top priority. And most importantly, it requires choosing yourself again and again, even when it is difficult. As I said, emotional independence is not built in a day. It is built through daily practices, through small conscious decisions, where you choose yourself, where you stand by yourself, where you stop abandoning yourself and start standing with yourself. And it begins with this. The first thing you can do is to expand your awareness, and for that, you should read. And when I said you should read non-fiction. So when you read non-fiction, you are not just reading words, you're expanding your perspective. You begin to understand how people think, how emotions work, how manipulation works, and how strength is built. Because the more aware you are, the less easily you can be controlled. An unaware mind seeks validation, but an aware mind, it seeks truth. Reading teaches you to think for yourself. And the moment you start thinking for yourself, you stop depending on others to tell you who you are and who you can be, who you should not be, what can you do, what you can't do, and all those bullshit. The second thing you should do is to associate yourself with bigger goals. A woman who has no direction will always be pulled by distraction, but a woman who has a vision becomes anchored. When your life is centered around your goals, your growth, your purpose, you stop revolving around people. You stop measuring your worth by their attention because your life is no longer empty enough to be filled by temporary emotional attachments. Your goals give you identity. They remind you that you are here to build something and not just to feel something. Third thing, learn psychology. Not to manipulate others, but to protect yourself. This is not about being cold. This is about being aware. When you understand human behavior, you stop personalizing everything. You start recognizing patterns. You start seeing intentions. You understand the difference between genuine care and temporary attention. And this awareness protects you. Because emotional dependence always comes from confusion, from not understanding why someone behaves the way they do. But clarity breaks attachment. So when you can see clearly, you choose wisely. For this thing, I would recommend you a book which is 48 Laws of Power. Now, this book is really very brutal, but I will still suggest you to read this. The fourth thing, value your dignity like never before. Your emotions are important. I understand. But your dignity is even more important. Never let your emotions convince you to tolerate disrespect. Never let any attachment convince you to lower your standard. Because the moment you compromise your dignity to keep someone, you start losing your relationship with yourself. And trust me, no relationship is worth that loss. An emotionally independent woman chooses self respect even when it is painful because she knows that pain heals, but loss of self is harder to recover from. Number five, do not nurse emotional pain. Stop revisiting the same hurt again and again in your mind. Stop feeding your wounds with the memories that keep you stuck. Because pain needs space to heal. But when you constantly reopen it, it becomes part of your identity. Emotional independence means allowing yourself to heal, but also allowing yourself to move forward. Not everything deserves a permanent place in your life. Some things are meant to be lessons and not attachments. Cut all the threads. Just cut all the threads. Sixth, become no nonsense. This does not mean becoming rude. It means becoming clear. Clear about what you deserve. Clear about who deserves access to you. Clear about what you tolerate. Why should you tolerate? What's the need to tolerate? Anyways, a no nonsense woman does not chase explanation. She observes action. Hear me out clearly. A no nonsense woman does not chase explanation. She observes action. She does not beg for respect. She walks away from disrespect. She does not try to convince people of her worth. She lives in a way that reflects it. Her silence speaks louder than her words. Seventh, focus on yourself. Truly focus. Your 20s are not meant to be spent watching who's dating whom, who's leaving whom, who's choosing whom. Your 20s are meant to be spent choosing yourself. It is meant to be spent building your mind, building your strength, building your identity. Because this is the phase where you are laying the foundation of the woman you are going to become. And the stronger the foundation is, the less easily your life will be shaken by temporary people or the temporary emotions. Be the woman who minds her own good. Be the woman who is fearless. Be the woman who becomes so emotionally strong that she never abandons herself again. And practice this every day, every single day until you become her. So, as we are approaching the end of this video, there are so many things that I haven't explicitly mentioned in this video. But I know it, you know it, we all know it. What is happening around us? Be it cyber harassment, emotional manipulation, disrespect, or silent psychological harm. Women today are not just fighting physical battles, they are fighting emotional ones also. And many times, these battles are invisible to the world. And that is why emotional independence is not just about growth anymore. It is about protection as well. Because when you are emotionally dependent, you become vulnerable to people who do not value your heart. But when you are emotionally independent, you become self protected. I strongly believe that precaution is always better than cure. Do not wait for something to break you before you decide to become emotionally strong. Become so emotionally secure within yourself that people think twice before disturbing your peace. Not because you're rude, not because you're aggressive, but because your presence carries that strength, that self respect, that sense of self worth. Because you carry yourself differently, because you respond differently, because you choose differently, and slowly the world starts treating you the way you treat yourself. Never forget this. You're not weak, you're not helpless, you are Shakti. Strength is not something that you have to find outside yourself, it simply resides within you. Emotion dependence is simply the way of returning to it. So, this Women's Day, do not just celebrate yourself, embrace yourself, protect yourself, stand by yourself, and become the woman who's so powerful. Happy Women's Day. May my Shada bless you all. Keep going, keep growing, stay blessed, stay smiling, stay strengthful.